Okay, I'm going to be doing some oven canning today. They had a sale on the King Arthur's flour. When I say sale, they had a coupon for $1 off per 5-pound bag. And yeah, I normally grind my own flour, but sometimes I like to have flour. Well, not sometimes, I always keep some flour on hand just in case, there's one of those things where I need to do something quickly and we don't have time to grind it or whatever. And so anyway, I like to keep some flour on hand to be short and simple. I'm going to dry can some today because I don't know when I will actually use this flour, because if I have time, then of course I will grind it. So here we go. I just washed the jars and I'm going to use quart size jars. I don't have any bigger jars that actually have sealing lids. It would be nicer if I did, but I don't. So these are the ones I'm going to use, and I've actually got 10 of them. I'm going to need some more, but I'm just going to do 10 first, and then I'll see how I like it, because I have never dry canned before. I know I have friends that do it, and I've done a lot of reading on it, but I've never actually done it. So now I'm going to try it. Well, the jars are wet. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stick them in the oven so that they can dry. And that way I'll make sure all the moisture is out of them instead of just wiping them out with a towel, okay? Now when you're oven canning, what you're going to do is you want your temperature to be at 200, okay? Now we see this is at 150. I got a thermometer for my stove, my oven, because I wanted to make sure that it was 200 degrees if I was going to be doing oven canning. So I'm going to turn it up a little bit more, because what I found is if I actually put it on 200, my oven is more like 225, almost 250, when it's supposed to be on 200. So get yourself a good oven thermometer to make sure that your oven is correct. And then what I noticed is when I get above 300, then for some reason it is accurate. So I don't know what is. This stove is almost 20 years old, so could just be that it's an old stove, and it could be that it was just never accurate and I didn't know it. Never dry canned before, so I guess it's not that big of a deal, but now it is a big deal. Like I said, I want to make sure, because I don't want it to burn the stuff that I'm putting in there, but I also want to make sure that it's at a high enough temperature that it's going to kill any buggies and anything else that might be growing in there. So I'm going to put them in the oven, like I said, first just to dry them. And once I'm sure that they are good and dry, and I know that my oven is at 200, then I'm going to fill the jars. I will leave the lids off, and I will put them back in the oven on 200 for 1 hour. So I'll take you along with me as we go. Okay, so the thermostat is right at 200, so it's perfect. And I'll show you how I had to adjust my oven to get it at 200. Okay, as you'll see, it's not at the 200 mark, which is right here. It's like in between, about 3/4 between off and 200. That puts it at exactly 200 degrees. So the jars have been heated now for about 25 minutes, which they didn't really need to be. Like I said, they were clean jars. I just washed them. I was wanting to dry them. So we'll go ahead and get started. Now, needless to say, one of the most important things, since we are canning dry stuff and we are dry canning, is that everything is 100% dry. Any moisture in this, once you seal it, it's just going to make for molded, rotten, nasty stuff. Okay, so I've got a bag of the flour here, and I'm just going to use a cup scoop, and I've got my canning funnel here, and you want to get as much as you can inside each jar. So just kind of, once you put it in. Okay, so here's what we have so far. I've gone through about almost a bag and a half, and I've got 6 jars so far. So I'm figuring probably 9 jars, 8-9 jars, because 2 of my jars are a little bit smaller, to finish off all of them. And that. Okay, so you're going to want to make sure and settle it down. That's not the camera shaking, that's me shaking the jar. So kind of tamp it I did is to get some of the air out, I kind of pressed down in here because you want to get as much in there as possible, but it doesn't need to be, you know, it's not like when you're canning if there's an air bubble or something in there, because again, it's dry. You're just trying to kill off anything that might be alive in there that you don't want alive in there. So that made a little more room to put some more in. I'm just trying to basically get as much into the jars as we can since we're storing it. Okay, there we go. See? And then right now we're not going to be so worried about it, but when we get ready to put the lids on, we're going to want to make sure that those rims are nice and clean, like always. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Okay, so there we have it. That is 10 pounds plus a little bit more because I opened up the third bag to put some flour in here. So that should do it. We're going to stick it in the oven now. I'm going to verify first, though, that it is 200 degrees in that oven. One more time. And if it's not, I'm going to adjust it, and then I'm going to keep an eye on it. But I'm going to put it in for 1 hour, and then about 5 minutes beforehand, I will heat up the lids and then thoroughly dry them and then put them on the jars as I take them out one at a time. I want to make sure those jars are hot when we put those lids on, like I said. So we're going to make sure that we got some nice clean rims here. All right. And as you'll see, when I was cleaning the oven or the around the knob earlier, I must have bumped it because it's up to about 215 in there right now. So I'm going to set it down just a little bit. And remember too, when you go to put those jars in, that's 10 plus pounds of flour plus the pan plus the jars. So it's pretty heavy. So if it's ladies doing it, be careful and keep in mind how heavy it is. I went to pick it up and it was like, whoa, okay. Okay, so temperature adjusted and timer set. Time to count down 1 hour. Okay, it's 4 minutes till the hour is up, and I went ahead at about 6 minutes till and heated up some water in the microwave and dropped my lids in. So they're heating up right now, and in 4 minutes I'll start taking the jars out. Okay, the timer went off and I just took the first lid out and dried it off, and as I'm looking at it, there's still a tiny wet spot on it. See, and that's what we need to be careful of. We don't want no tiny wet spot. So I'm going to double check this before I put it on, so I don't want no issues, but that should be soft. Okay, I'm going to get the first jar out and we'll get started here. Okay, I double checked that seal, that rim, and the jar is hot. Made sure that's clean. Now I'm going to put that on there and we're going to screw it down good and tight. And it should pop then. Sorry for the camera movement here. I don't have my tripod with my iPhone. Okay, so tighten down, and then we're just going to let that do its thing. I'm going to move each one of them out of the way. And whoop, once you put that on there, that's hot, so don't forget that. All right, I'm going to do all the rest of them and I'll let you see when it's done. It's a clean, dry towel. Okay, nice and clean, and then I'm going to make sure there's no flour on that rim. Heat it. And there we go. Move that out of the way and get to the next jar. Some hot water in there. And this is a clean towel. It wasn't the one that I was previously wiping up stuff with in my hands, so I do want to make sure it's sanitary. Okay. Nice and dry. I almost grabbed that because these jars are hot. Now we're at 200 degrees. All right, and I'm just going to keep on going. I've got a total of 8, so 5 more to go. Okay, and there we have it. Last one done. So now, one by one, these should begin to pop as they cool down, and I think one of them already did. So we'll see. I'll let you know how it goes. I've seen people, videos of people that have used this flour 3 and 4 years after the fact, and it still smells perfectly fine, looks perfectly fine, so hopefully we'll have as much luck. Well, it seems to have worked well. Every single one of the jars popped and sealed. So I think we're good to go. I guess we'll check one maybe in a year or two. I might check one in, well, I don't know, because it takes a while for it to go rancid. So I don't know when we'll check one. I think for right now, I'll just go by what other people have said, since there seems to be a little proof in the pudding. Now, disclaimer, as always, it's one of those things, I have no proof on how this works. And I know some people recommend against it. Others say that they have done it for years and years. A friend of mine has been doing it for over 50 years. She swears by it. She's 82 years old now, and so, you know, works for her. Again, it's up to you. You have to make the decision if this is something that works for you or if it doesn't. I decided to give it a try to see if it'll work for me. And I know some people do rice and other grains and stuff, so, and beans, so we'll just see.